guess I never really updated with listening impressions on my Volti upgraded bells after having them, after I upgraded them and initially listened to them. My impression is the same. These are just absolutely amazing. Yeah, I don't know what else you say. If you're not going to buy new production, upgrade your bells, though good luck finding used bells at a reasonable price. You can buy high quality new production speakers, especially if you like horn loaded. Going with Volti is probably the way to go. But some other things going on here. I have a new DAC, which I'm also absolutely loving. I had a mini DSP SHD, which I have a lot of things to say about mini DSP, their customer support. Just suffices to say it's no longer here. I had a Ship Mimir for a while, pretty good DAC, but it's a $300 DAC. It's not an expensive DAC. It's their entry-level DAC. It's got some good and bad. I wanted a better DAC, but by golly, better DACs are expensive, and I like to DIY, so I thought I just started looking around at some of the DIY options available, and here's this Soekris DAC. They have a cheaper DIY version, but I decided that I wanted something a little nicer. Now, when I say a cheaper DIY version, I think it's important to point out that somebody took that cheaper DIY version, put it in a box with some power supplies, and was initially charging $100,000 for that thing. That board, the DAC itself, is like 300 bucks. So a little bit insane. That company now sells, it might be their own ladder DAC, in a box for 35 grand. So they've come way down in price. This is a Soekris DAM2941, a fully balanced ladder DAC. So fully balanced meaning XLR outputs, that's coming out here and here. You can do RCA, I don't have that set up yet, but there's a ladder then for each leg of the left and right channels. I am feeding it, these are linear power supplies. So we've got a +5 analog that feeds the ladder, a -5 analog that feeds the ladder, and then a 5-volt digital. So my 5-volt digital is powered off of this little transformer here. The plus and minus are fed off of this little transformer here, the little 9-volt transformers. The one thing being this isn't their Soekris DIY product. This is meant for more of a OEM. So you kind of have to figure some of it out, which has been a little bit of a fun process. They do come, or you can buy. Mine, I don't know why, mine came with the boards that allow you to connect all the other accessories up, including power supplies. They have their own power supply that you can use. He specifies parts and all kinds of stuff. These, on the other hand, are different than what Soekris specifies. These are shunt regulated power supplies. Shunt regulated meaning that they can take current too. In fact, they bleed a little bit of current the whole time, which is why they have these nice big heat sinks, which are cool to the touch because I oversized them. But that can help eliminate a lot of noise. And of course, when I say a lot, we're dealing with tiny little fractions of noise and these nice things. But shunt regulated supplies here for the best possible sound. Then there is the possibility for an analog out, I'll come back to that, and then a display board. The display board, again, I was sent the sample in the box. It's supposed to cost extra. I don't know why I got the sample, but it's surface mount parts, and I don't solder surface mount parts. I shake too much. That was exaggerated, but there's no way in my life. And I used to be an electrical engineer. I used to solder. Even 20-something years ago when I was into this, I couldn't solder surface mount parts, so no point. So what we've got here is a breadboarded dip version. So the parts that were surface mount were these shift registers. They don't make a pin-for-pin compatible shift register for the ones that Soekris designed the whole thing for, which is a little bit frustrating. It's very close, but I wanted to have some of the display features. And when I say display, it's LEDs. You can have a volume knob out here. But this is telling me that it's playing a, I believe, a 48 kilohertz song. This is, the red light is clipping. As these lights change, it's showing you the bit rate that it's reading in the data. Initially, I actually had to turn the volume down a little bit inside the DAC digitally. because it was clipping on some songs. This is telling me that it's USB, reading it on USB, and that little light there is telling me that it's online rather than headphones. I don't have a headphone jack hooked up. I probably never will, so some of these lights are going to go away. This one here in the far right, for instance, is going to go away. That's a cross feed for doing headphones. This will never be a headphone DAC. But I still have to hook a switch up. We'll watch this light change. This is the different filters that are available. So that's a linear filter. The Soekris DAC is always upsampling. Not oversampling, upsampling. It's taking the entering signal and upsampling. It's just repeating it a bunch of times, and then you get filters to decide what to do with that upsampled signal. You can oversample it. So this is a linear oversampled filter that's currently on. That is a, if I remember right, mixed. This is next minimum phase. Shoot, I hit it too many times. Oh, where was red? Oh, there's red. It just doesn't look like red on the picture. Red is minimum phase, and then finally when it's off, you have a soft filter. That's their closest to a non-oversampling filter that comes in the DAC. You can roll your own filters if you want. There's lots of information out there on the DIY forums about how to do that. I don't know if I ever will, but hey, it's a feature, something you can do. I do have this connected serially so I can communicate with the DAC. That was a pretty important feature. I didn't understand, for instance, when you sent commands to the DAC to set it up, that it didn't actually necessarily store that information. So for instance, I wanted it to start up on the soft, the closest to non-oversampling filter, and without a display, I didn't know that every time I turned it back on, it was turning back on to linear. So with the little display here, I can actually see what it's doing. Obviously, this is not going to live on breadboard forever. Well, hopefully that's obvious. I will lay out a circuit board. I'll send that out to one of the fab houses and have that made up so that I can put this in a much more compact package. Come back to that. I do want to now talk about this output here. This connector here is the output of the ladder DAC, though, to a connector. And so one of the sample boards that they sent was their buffer stage. Right now, I'm feeding right off of the ladder DAC into my preamp. This is a Shitkara F, and it's a buffered input, but it doesn't have the highest input impedance, so it might be dropping the ladder DAC down a little bit. It is a voltage output, so that's not really a big deal. But if there are interactions there, it is changing what the music sounds like. So you can connect a buffer, an op-amp buffer, and that's kind of neat, right? So with an op-amp buffer, you can try different op-amps. Even though I haven't finished building the thing yet, I already have a pile of 3 different op-amps I want to try out. Again, the sample board allows you to do surface mount parts, or luckily in this case for the op-amp, it's also through hole, so I don't have to relay that one out. I'm pretty excited about that. So I've been building that one up. I will have shunt regulated power supplies for that too. So rather than feeding it 5 volts, which it will run off of 5 volts, I'll be feeding it plus or minus 15. So I've got another pair of these dogs that I'm building up. I'm actually going to leave the PCBs connected. They come, these 3 PCBs come in one sheet, and you break them apart. It's got a score in it. But I'll keep those 2 together. And so that will connect over here, and that will have XLR balanced output, and kind of something else I need to look at. I'll be able to then connect that through my SHIT preamp and all of that. I'll probably keep my SHIT preamp, even though this has the ability to do digital volume control. I have a nice resistor ladder volume control here that I do like, plus some other features that I'll probably hang on to. Who knows? This also has the ability to drive. So these 2 chips, for instance, these 2 shift registers over here are currently look like they're completely unused. They're not connected to anything. They are used to send the data. That's a little bit frustrating. I'm only using the output of 3 shift registers, but the DAC itself is expecting to send a signal to 5 shift registers, so you have to have all 5 of them there so that it sends the data to the right spots. So a display here that shows the volume, I don't know, I might do that at some point. Again, because it turns out the clipping was occurring at 0 dB, which is where it starts. So I have it currently at -2, and I may want to know that, so I may have that display out there. Trying to think of much else. The other thing I'll probably do, and this is more of a long-term thing with this output here, of course I can go to an op-amp buffer board, which is what I'm going to do initially, and I will be able to roll some different op-amps. Maybe I get myself some Sparkos for Christmas and see what they sound like. I'm kind of going traditional Burr Brown to start out. But I've got a plan for doing a tube output too. So a fully balanced, probably ECC 99 tube balanced output as well, which then means I'll have 3 sets of XLR outputs. I don't want 3 sets of XLR outputs. Luckily my shit Kara F can switch 2 balanced outputs, but it can't do 3. So because of that, what I'll probably end up doing is designing a relay board that allows me to switch from ladder only to buffered via op amp to buffered via the tube buffer that I designed. That's where this kind of becomes interesting, because the shunt regulated supplies that I'm going to build for the op amp board, I'm actually going to have that to change to. So when it shifts over to the tube amp, I don't want to run those heaters the whole time. That's just a lot of wasted power. So I will set up the heaters so that they then shift from the op amp output. Actually turns everything off on here, so I will eventually have to relay out this board. But we'll turn off everything to the op amp, shift the heaters to the tubes with a little bit of a delay for the incoming signal, and then send the signal to the tube output. That then means that I'll have to have some set of relays to shift the output from the ladder to the op amp to the DAC, or to the tube amp, and so that'll be a process. That'll be a separate board from this display board that eventually, I'll breadboard that up and lay it out. My plans overall are eventually to put this in a nice box, probably with some Lexan or plexiglass top and a plexiglass front. I don't know, as a DIYer, I like to see this kind of stuff. Like, what is inside the box? I want to know. That's why I like a big old tube amp here, right? You got a science experiment hanging right out of the top of the amplifier. So one thing you may notice is I do have a missing power switch. So every time I want to turn this thing off, I have to sit down or go back to the back here and unplug it. The power switch is coming. I have ideas for how that's going to work, and my initial plan didn't work out. So we're well on the path of getting the right thing. So in terms of what does this DAC sound like, it certainly is more detailed. I hear more detail with this DAC than I did the Mimir, though it is minimal. Your biggest differences in what your sounds like is coming from these things, your speakers. You can't overcome the limitations of a crummy speaker. So with the Volti upgrades, these sound absolutely amazing. Probably then the next biggest change to your audio is your amplifier. I have an amplifier project going. I'm going to have I'll have monoblock KT88 amplifiers based on the Baby Huey design. It was not necessarily set up for KT88, so I've made a lot of changes, a lot of engineering decisions on that. So I'm looking forward to that. And then, so I'm hoping for more punchier kind of mid bass. This is definitely lacking that punch, and I've tested that out with some other amplifiers. So I had to wait for budget and some other concerns to order the output transformers. They are coming from Europe. They will eventually be here hopefully in a month or so. So with that in mind, that's kind of what's going on. I hope to use kind of the same wood and design kind of language, I guess, for the boxes that I build for the monoblocks and this DAC. I'd really like to use New Zealand curry wood, which is going to take a little bit to get in. The ancient curry wood is available. It's like 50,000 years old because it fell in a bog, and now they're digging it back out because you can't get new curry wood unless you are asking iwi in New Zealand very kindly, and they decide to sacrifice a tree for you, and they really don't like to do that anymore. So with that in mind, loving it, absolutely loving this system.